Hi, Vinnie. I'm really delighted to have this opportunity to work with you and dive deeper on what our vertical strategy is, where we're seeing momentum, and where we're headed. So my name is Mitchell-Keller. I run Industry Solutions at Google Cloud, and Industry Solutions is really at the heart of everything that Google is doing from a solution development perspective. We're really wanting to get very focused on what's happening in individual industries, particularly the 9 priority industries we have. So I love this quote from Sundar, and I think it's been a very difficult time over the last 22 months, but maybe the silver lining is that we've been given an even greater opportunity to transform our organizations for the better. And if I look back over the past 2 years, which I've been at Google for about 2 years, we've made a ton of progress in our industry solutions, and cloud continues to outpace the rest of the marketing growth. But I think what is most interesting from my vantage point in particular is that I've started to see a pattern emerge across pretty much every industry for why companies are choosing to work with Google Cloud, and why the long-term thinkers, typically led by the C-suite, are signing expansive partnerships with Google. And what they are seeking is long-term, durable business transformation. They really want to understand what can transformation do for them, and what are they trying to transform into. So what I've been hearing from customers across every industry is that they're investing to transform and become the best tech company. Technology is just not for technology's sake. Technology is a means to an end, and they see Google as the partner who can get them there the fastest. So at Google Cloud, we're not just focused on selling more stuff to our customers. We really want the partnerships that matter the most, and those are about selling customers products that generate better outcomes, so that they can be the best partner, and they can use those outcomes to really transform their business. So to help companies transform into those leading companies in their sector, we've been developing an entire portfolio of purpose-built industry solutions to address the business outcomes that matter most. And that's what we're really focused on, is business value for our customers. So we've had outstanding success partnering with large global enterprises in every industry.
Lori, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You have application vendors, right, who go to market with specific packaged solutions. Mm-hmm. And then I presume Google is, as a hyperscaler, is going more with your infrastructure and your broader vision, right? Or do you have quite a few packaged solutions also you're walking in with?
Yeah, so we do have out-of-the-box solutions, Vinnie, and part of our strategy is that, yes, we believe our infrastructure is better, but sometimes it's hard for customers to understand the value of one vendor over another. And what we want to do is make sure that, to my point, we're delivering those business outcomes, so that we're not just focused on the infrastructure and the underlying layer and providing better TCO, right? We really want to provide better ROI on the processes that our companies and our partners are driving. So I've shown this slide before, but it essentially shows the verticals that we're focused on, the industries that we're focused on, and the portfolio of solutions that we're building, right? Everything from demand forecasting to inventory optimization to regulatory reporting to intelligent manufacturing. So across all of those industries, we're building out-of-the-box solutions that, in our vernacular, we call our industry cloud, right? So we're trying to power those processes end to end that are the most critical for each one of our priority industries, and take all of those capabilities as a layer, if you will, as an industry cloud on top of the infrastructure, so that companies can really start to generate better business value and not just lower TCO.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, and many of these solutions in each of these squares,
yeah,
are they in progress? Have you already made progress on them? Are they partner solutions? Just give me an idea where you are in terms of your evolution.
Yeah, so all of the solutions on this particular slide are in general availability.
Okay.
They are not partner solutions per se. I mean, I would say in a couple of them, so for instance, in Intelligent Manufacturing Suite, we're using a partner to ingest data from about the 250 different manufacturing platforms that machines have, giving data and ingesting that in. They're then passing it over to our Intelligent Manufacturing Data Engine, which is structuring the data and putting it in a manner for analysis and output so that customers can understand, how well their machines are doing, how well particular lines are doing, even how well, the whole process is running and what's happening in that particular plant. So I would say that these are products that we're currently selling to customers. For the most part, they are pure Google developed, but in some areas where it's more of a little bit of a commodity, like that ingestion from the 250 machine platforms, we will use a partner.
Okay, thank you.
So this slide really was meant to say that we're trying to help customers really transform their companies in every sector. So this portfolio that we've been building for many years. You'll see more and more products over the coming months and quarters and next year as well. So if I look at the customers and the partners that we're really working with, we've had, I think we've had outstanding success partnering with these large global enterprises in every industry and every geography. And our momentum is incredibly strong. We've got over 200 plus customers. We've got thousands and thousands of customers, I should say, in over 200 plus countries and territories. So maybe we can take a little bit of a closer look at a few of the transformation business outcomes we've achieved with our customers, and that'll shed a little bit more light on the types of things that we're bringing to market. So with the Home Depot, we've launched Contact Center AI with Agent Assist, and we've reduced customer resolution time there by 1.5 million hours, which is essentially 91 minutes. And obviously happier customers or customers who get answers faster. So that's been a huge win for us at Home Depot. If we look at Procter & Gamble, we've built their Consumer 360 platform using our CDP solution to securely store and activate over 275 million customer records. And that's created a really personalized omni-channel journey for their customers around the world. So if we switch into financial services for a minute, BNY Mellon.
On P&G, is that allowing them to think about direct to consumer? Is that part of their plan?
Yeah, part of their plan is to really understand how their customers are using their products and what they can do to get that first party data more easily, particularly when they're going direct to consumer. Yeah.
Okay.
And then BNY Mellon used our BigQuery and our Google Cloud AI to develop a collateral management and liquidity solution that essentially predicted 40% of their settlement failures in Fed eligible securities. And not only did we do a really great job at identifying failures, we did that with about a 90% accuracy rate, which is really unheard of. And then in the publishing space, I love this particular example, which is with Google Cloud's recommendations AI engine in place. Newsweek has now increased their click-through rate by 50%. Their subscription conversion rate has increased by 10%, and the total revenue per visit has also increased by 10%. So just a huge customer reference there with Newsweek. And then if we switch over to the retail vertical, we've been working with Macy's, and our most recent testing with Macy's on retail search has seen a 2% increase in conversion and a 1.3% increase in revenue per visit. Again, thanks to our retail search. We often say that it's not about cart abandonment, it's about search abandonment. Customers leave your site not because they have put something in their cart and then decide not to buy it. They can't even find what they want to put in the cart because they're having problems with search. So we believe that
this is the e-commerce part of Macy's, not the store part, correct?
Yeah, it's the online part of Macy's, right? So when they're using their e-commerce, they've now used resale search with their e-com engine. So think of it as Google search optimized for retailers' websites. And we believe that massive amounts of retailers are going to want this capability. And it's not just for retail. It will ultimately be for CPG, for financial services, any website where you're going and trying to search for things. Our retail search, i.e. industry search, I think will be hugely successful. I mean, if you think about Google search in general, we're really great about taking long tail queries. I mean, lots of words, and we figure out what you're actually trying to look for. And that's the same thing that we're doing for Macy's. So that 2% increase in conversion on across their entire online store is okay. So maybe we'll move on to just a couple more. So Mr. Cooper has been working with us to build a document processing and analysis platform that they could deliver via APIs, both internally and externally. And it resulted in an increase in document processing efficiency by 400%, which obviously significantly reduced their cost. So that's where they're using document AI, where we can read various documents, everything from ID cards to mortgages, and ultimately help them in their processing efficiency. And then I just want to make sure that I highlight that these are just a few of the incredibly exciting outcomes and transformations that we've been able to drive with our customers. So maybe now,
are you helping any with their product, smart products, or product engineering?
So I'm probably the closest to what
you're trying to make them the best tech company, right? And you would think they would want to have smart products, smart services. So I'm just wondering if you're helping them with product engineering also.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So a great example of that is our intelligent products in the manufacturing industry. So intelligent products, essentially, GE is probably the best example, right? They're really trying to understand as they put out products into the market, how often are error codes seen? How are the customers using their products so that they can better engineer their products for customer use? So intelligent products essentially is an over-the-air platform that allows GE to interact with its appliances and then to take all of that information in and do analysis on what are the trends in terms of not only how customers are using the product, but what might be the failure rates or failure codes that they're seeing. So that's really changing how they're building their product and how they're thinking about deploying those products. So maybe
this is the appliance side of GE, not the turbine or the aviation side.
Right, you're right. I should have said GE appliances. Yes, the appliances side. So maybe I could share with you what I believe to be the reasons why customers choose Google Cloud, and I think there's several. The first reason is, as I mentioned, companies want to be the best tech company in their industry. That's really differentiating for them. But to be the best tech company, you also need to be the best data company in your industry. You can't really use technology to do the analysis and to help you move forward if you don't have the data. And so that's why customers are choosing Google to build their data clouds. We have extensive experience in handling data. So for example, Google Cloud's healthcare data engine really harmonizes the data for analytics so that both healthcare and life sciences leaders can derive the insights they need to make smart, real-time clinical and operational decisions. So that's one example of how we're using data. And I think better data management and interoperability enables a path to better population health management in that particular example, and at the same time reducing the total cost of ownership. So obviously, ultimately generating better patient outcomes. So on the manufacturing side, though, another example for data is that manufacturers want to create products that provide those engaging customer experiences and new monetization opportunities, as I was sort of referencing in the GE appliances example. And so that's why we built Intelligent Product Essentials, which is an end-to-end solution that enables manufacturers to rapidly build products with better personalization and customer insights using AI at the edge and product telemetry and analytics in the cloud. So that's, again, the GE example. But then the second reason I think that customers are turning to Google is, how do you speed Google level consumer innovation into the enterprise? We have a lot of experience about consumer innovation, and how do we help enterprises to access that? So at Google, we built what I'll call a factory-like operation that moves breakthrough research with teams like DeepMind into massive consumer scale through products like search, Android, YouTube, Maps, and then converts that innovation into purpose-built industry solutions and developer tools in Google Cloud. So many of the solutions that you saw above in that previous slide were based upon a lot of that consumer innovation and that breakthrough technology from other parts of Google, not just Google Cloud. So our enterprise customers really get to uniquely benefit from Google's consumer scale, our innovation, our pace of productization. And I think this is something that competitors just simply cannot match in terms of the experiences that Google has had. So let's take in that vein, let's take a closer look at Contact Center AI, which analyzes transcripts, it analyzes chat logs to help companies generate better customer care outcomes. So using speech to text, NLP, and topic modeling, CCAI Insights extracts conversational understanding that generates actions to increase agent effectiveness, lower costs, and grow customer satisfaction. So this is especially useful in those large contact centers where you're getting lots of calls and you need to be able to analyze those and actually use agents and bots to answer the calls, and many times without actual humans. So again, Insight stands on the shoulders of all of that breakthrough innovation in language models from teams within Google like Research and DeepMind. And it's scaled through customer products like voice search, Google Assistant, and Android. So again, just an example of how we're bringing the multitude of Google research and understanding to things that move our customers forward in terms of their processes and their ROI. So maybe in that spirit, let's just continue a little bit and move from conversational insights to document understanding. And I had referred to this in the Mr. Cooper example. So Doc AI really helps companies turn unstructured text into structured data. So you've seen versions of OCR-based AI models in Google Translate as an example, but in cloud, we focus on specific industry outcomes. So we're really excited about the launch of Contract Doc AI and the potential of this solution. So that could be any kind of contracts for us to be able to ingest and provide that in a structured format. So it's a great example of how our AI and industry solutions teams are taking a portfolio of world-class AI capabilities from our research and consumer teams and engineering those purpose-built solutions to help companies parse, extract, and understand critical terms and conditions, leading to faster and more efficient contract processing. So
is the goal here to create templates then, to take multiple examples and templatize them? Is that a
Yeah, so Doc AI, for instance, can take anything from ID cards or driver's licenses to, like I mentioned, mortgage processes, mortgage loan documents, or any other unstructured data, unstructured text, if you will, and turn that into structured data. So it's not just, the document understanding, it's also using all of that optical character recognition and the AI models that we've used in Google Translate, for instance, and we've used in other areas like Google Assistant to really understand what is that text to be able to read that into contracts. So for instance, in the mortgage area, right, any of us who've done a mortgage know that it takes an incredible amount of time to apply for a mortgage and get it approved. And part of that is the company is taking the information that we filled out on contracts and putting them into various other systems that need that data. Now imagine if you had that mortgage ingested as structured data that could then feed all of the other systems automatically that a bank needs to flow that mortgage loan through. And that's what we're doing with the likes of Mr. Cooper and others in terms of really increasing their efficiency to be able to respond to their customers.
I'm going through that painful process right now. And I've had an in-person visit, multiple emails, multiple everything, phone calls.
Right. It's not a pretty process. And so we think that with our Doc AI applied to mortgages or applied to other types of contracts, we can, improve the efficiency of those processes by hundreds of hours.
And Laurie, here's the sad thing. This bank has financed and refinanced our house multiple times over the last 30 years, and they go through the same process over and over again.
Right. It makes you really wonder, right? What's happening to all that data, right? Why aren't they able to do it better, right? So maybe to just move on to the third reason why customers want to partner with Google Cloud and be the best tech companies is I think it's all about our industry solutions and the underlying industry clouds that they're built on, right? Which helps companies with critical aspects of their business, even their ESG goals and initiatives like carbon neutrality, sustainable supply chains, or responsible innovation. I mean, we often say we are the cleanest cloud in the world, and we really are that in terms of our carbon emissions and currently matching all of the electricity that we use with renewable energy. And we have this, goal by 2030 to only be using renewable energy. And so across the board, we're really trying to attack the problems that our customers need solved. And we've learned that productization, oftentimes moves at the pace of trust, right? So it takes a long time for trust to build. Sometimes it takes a long time for products to build. But I think responsible innovation in AI is a core part of our strategy in cloud. So it's not just for our own products, but in helping our customers build responsible, practices into their own product and model developments, whether it's from sustainable supply chains or carbon neutrality and other things, right? So every customer I talk to
in this is the S what attracts people to Google, your renewable track record, or is it all of the above? The E part also and the G part also?
Yeah, I think that it's all of the above. I mean, I think that what people know about Google is that we're very responsible. We're very, the trust builds pretty easily with Google in terms of our innovations and our ability to really tackle all aspects of ESG and look at not only the carbon neutrality, but also what's happening in supply chains and really bring solutions to market that allow them to achieve their goals, right? Because every C-level executive I talk to is really concerned about sustainability, and particularly sustainability and resiliency in their supply chains. If you look at the supply chain issues we've had with COVID, right? The lack of visibility that they've had in their supply chains, somewhat because of data that's locked up in silos, somewhat because the supply chains are just broken with COVID and the lack of the workforce and the lack of the ability to get things to report and unload. All of that is part of it, but the data being locked in silos and their inability to get transparency into what is happening in their supply chain just compounds the problem. So unlocking that data to drive resilient and sustainable supply chains is essentially why we introduced the supply chain twin, which again is a purpose-built solution. It enables companies to build a digital representation, and they can build that representation of their supply chain, have end-to-end visibility, alert-driven event management, analytics, collaboration, all of those things that will ultimately unlock this broken supply chain and get it moving again. Certainly in the physical world that it has to happen, but if you have a digital twin, you can also really be able to look at potential impacts, understand material shortages, weather-related disruptions, and try to optimize your plan and decision-making, again, all built on the foundation of data and AI.
Are you finding that most of your clients have digital twins already? That seems to have evolved quite a bit in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, it has, but I think the difference is that many times the twin is just for one portion of the business, right? So you'll see a manufacturing product twin, you'll see, a quality twin or a worker safety twin, right? But really looking at that twin end to end across your entire supply chain, which requires bringing a lot of data from various silos together and having access to what's happening from a weather perspective, what's happening from, a trends in buying patterns perspective, all of that data pulled together to be able to do those analytics and visibility is something that's not really out there today. And we believe that with the innovation that Google has and our capability to unlock all that data, we can really produce a much better twin across the supply chain than the individual twins that are out there today.
Yeah, another vendor told me, they said, a lot of people have them in their product groups, the digital twin of the product, but they said they don't have it in the operations area. So it falls apart because they don't have, it's not used for field service and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's much easier to make a twin in a product area, right? Because you're working with one data set. Even a twin in manufacturing for a particular plant, you're working with one data set. Whereas the supply chain, it crosses all of the pieces of your company, as well as the data in your vendors and your supply chain partners. So it's a difficult problem, and we think we have a good answer to that difficult problem. And I have to say, I mean, across every industry, I think we're really helping organizations transform into those tech companies. To make it simple, I mean, we help the best banks be the best software companies, or the best auto manufacturers be the best hardware and AI companies, or the best retailers be the best data and personalization companies. So again, technology is not the end. Technology is the means to an end to get to those things that you want: personalization, understanding your customer. And that's why our intelligent manufacturing suite of solutions is really very popular, because we're designing it to help manufacturers accelerate their transformation with our leading analytics and AI capabilities. So in that particular product, our objective is really to help manufacturers easily leverage their machine data, which is often underutilized in several different types of formats, by getting it into the cloud in a structured and usable format with minimal effort. And really automating those data contextualization tasks and providing really easy integration. So that's
you're seeing on the digital side of the manufacturing, right? You're not getting into robotics. You're not getting into sensors or any of that sort.
No, it's really reading the data and helping them to understand the data that's coming out of their machine. So I had mentioned this earlier, right, when you asked the question about partners in our roadmap. And I had mentioned that, well, we'll use partners in some commodity types, right? So this is a particular area that I referenced where, typically there's about 250 different platforms in a manufacturing environment for their machines providing data output. And so we're using a partner to interpret that data output and to put it into an unstructured common format. And then we take that data, structure it, allow transparency and visibility on it, allow analytics to be done on it. And then you can do, where am I having the worst quality problems? What's happening with predictive, what do I need to be thinking about from predictive maintenance, for instance? A lot of use cases that some of which we'll provide out of the box, and some of which you can build yourself or get from a partner, but it's all built on that intelligent manufacturing suite with that intelligent manufacturing data engine at the core of it. Right? I had mentioned earlier that it's hard to be a tech company without being a great data company, right? So we're building these data engines as part of our industry clouds in every industry to allow that industry to have access to the data that really then powers the technology and AI that they need to transform into those differentiated tech companies.
So let me give you a hypothetical, right? So a CEO calls you up and says, look, I'm trying to move manufacturing back to North America, but I don't want it to be labor intensive. I want it, lights out, robotics everywhere. Mm-hmm. Would you be a good partner for them, or would you have to say, no, probably not our core capability there?
Yeah, so we're not an equipment manufacturer, right? So we would not be able to provide the robotics for them. We would not be able to provide necessarily the manufacturing design. But what we would provide, which is critical to their move, is what's happening with all of their machines, which ones might be the best candidates for robotics, and how do they want to analyze that data differently than they would analyze, human-powered machines. So the data that we provide would be critical for that transformation. but we are not the partner to go out and provide those machines to them or to provide, a design for their layout. But we are a critical underpinning for them understanding what they need to do.
Sure.
So maybe I can just quickly highlight a couple of solutions that we're bringing to market in early 22. And the first is retail search. So this is a digital commerce adoption that has continued to grow through the pandemic. I mentioned the Macy's example, and I think that, the innovation that retailers are able to gather using the data insights and those long tail queries while also lowering IT costs is huge. And I think it's going to be rampant across many industries. The second is that we've developed ML algorithms for demand forecasting that are driving much more accurate forecasts for our customers. And we call it Vertex Forecast. Vertex is our AI platform. And Vertex Forecast really allows retailers to model future demand for both long horizon order planning and for short horizon use cases to really feed into all of those other processes, allocation, replenishment, planning systems. It's been a long time problem in retail to have one forecast that drives all of the planning systems. Supply chain uses a different forecast for replenishment. If it's a fashion designer, they use a different forecast for allocation. So being able to use one forecast that has all of the elements necessary for all of those processes is huge. The other thing that we should recognize about Vertex Forecast is the reason that it's being so successful is the way that we've been doing demand forecasting has been the same for decades. We haven't been using ML. We haven't been using the new data that we have, like traffic, maps, weather to help us to understand supplier lead times. All of that information has been available. We've just not been using it. And so Vertex Forecasting takes advantage of not only that data that we need, but also really ML to generate the forecast, not just, linear programming as we've been doing for years. So maybe just to wrap it all up, Vinnie, as Google Cloud looks into the future, I think we see massive opportunities to drive industry and organizational level digital transformation, really at scale, right, for our customers. And our core Google Cloud and the broader capabilities of Google and Alphabet really support our strength as an innovation partner to help companies build scalable data and AI platforms, to build digital operating models based upon that data, to build AI-enabled industry solutions that drive success in those business value outcomes that we're really all about getting for our customers. And I think the cross-functional digital ecosystem and partnership model that we built for differentiated solutions and our collaborative, maybe 10x thinking culture of innovation that underpins everything we do, our technology, our process, et cetera, all of those things I think are dramatic capabilities that help our customers to really achieve their goals. So I've been super happy to be able to share with you about our vertical strategy and what about some of the opportunities that we're chasing, but I'd be more than happy to answer more questions if you have them.
No, this is really, really very differentiated from what I've heard from others, especially the 10x productivity improvement and how to help you become a better tech company. These are really, really different from what I'm hearing from, other than selling functionality, right? You're selling almost outcomes, so that's great.
Yeah.
What I look forward to is maybe a drill down into 2 or 3 of these industries. So hopefully we can arrange that.
Absolutely.